Hello all, welcome to Tech Capture. In this video, we are going to cover a GCP networking in a single video. So I got a multiple request from my subscriber that they working on a GCP's services like BigQuery, Google Cloud Storage, Google Compute Engine, App Engine, Cloud Function, but still they haven't get chance to work on GCP networking services and they want to understand the networking basic of the GCP. What is subnets, what is VPC, what is firewall, what are the host project, what is a service project, what is VPC pairing, and all a basic networking a Google Cloud concept they want to understand in detail. So I'll preparing this video for all of those who want to get understanding of all GCP basic services in a single video. So just stay tuned till the end because I'll be covering each topic first in a conceptual way and then I'll try to implement that service in a Google Cloud. So I'll go to my next slide. So in this session we'll see what is IP addresses in Google Cloud, what are the different type of IP addresses, what is static IP addresses, what is ephemeral IP address, what is internal IP, what is external IP, we'll see in this session. Then what is a VPC, virtual private cloud, that is a core networking element of a Google Cloud. Then what is a subnet, what are the CID ranges, what are the firewalls, what are different kinds of firewall, what are the priorities in firewall, how we can set a priority for the firewall. Then what is a net gateway, how we can create a NAT gateway router, what is IAP, that is identity aware proxy, what is a use of IAP. Then we'll see what is VPC peering, why we need VPC peering, and what are the different advantages of VPC peering. And then we'll see what is shared VPC, what is host project, what is a service project. So these all services we'll see first, each topic we'll see first in a theoretical way and then we'll try to implement in a Google Cloud Console. So first I'll move ahead with IP addresses. So just take an example of your a mobile phone. So when you want to make a call, what you need in your mobile phone is your SIM card, that is a mobile number. So to make a call you should have a mobile number and each SIM card will have a single mobile number and that mobile number is unique to you. So two-person cannot have a same mobile number. To make a call you need a mobile number. Similar way, to use the internet you need a IP address. So IP is nothing but an internal protocol. So for using internet your device definitely have a IP address, or you connected to internet, your device will have a IP address. So suppose I connected to internet now, and if I'll check what is IP address of my device, so I will see what is my IP address. I just type in and you will see the IP address. This is my IP address. So all website will show the same IP address, that 226.152.111. If I go to this website it will show the same. So yeah, so you could see the each website, there are multiple websites which will show you your external IP address. So that is your IP address. So just in a single term, just remember, if you want to use internet, your device should have a IP address and it's connected to, whenever your device get connected to your internet, one IP address will get assigned to your device. So let it be your laptop, let it be your mobile, so any device connected to internet will have a IP address. So now there are two type of IP address, one is IPv4 and one is IPv6. So just don't worry about IPv6 for now, just focus on IPv4. So this IPv4 will look like this: 10.88.135.144. so just it's, you could see the content 4 octets, each containing 8 byte, giving values between 0 to 255. So this is just a binary representation of IP address, but don't go in deep, just remember your IP address will look like this. So it might start from 10, it might start from 20, it might start from anything, but it should be in a range of 255. So you could see this is how it look like: 1110.226.152.111. so this is how your IPv4 address look like. And if you want to see the IPv6 address how it look like, so it is like a bit longer string. So let me see here if it is, yeah, currently it is showing not detected. So let me show on internet IPv6 address, so how it will look like. Let me, what is an example of, yeah, so this is how your IPv6 address look like. Now we'll go and see what are the different IP addresses in a cloud. It can be in any cloud, or we'll concentrate on a Google cloud. So we'll go to next slide here. So here there are two type of IP address, private IP and public IP. This is also called as internal IP and external IP. So what is private IP? So whenever you are using internet, so just take example of your daily life. So whenever you are using your laptop and you will get connected to Wi-Fi, so it will form a network within your Wi-Fi. So all your devices and your Wi-Fi will form one network, and your Wi-Fi will assign one internal IP address to your laptop, and when you connect it to internet, there will be one external IP address connected to your laptop. So how you can see that? So I'll just show you in PowerShell. So I'll just open a PowerShell. Okay, and I'll just type ipconfig here. Okay, so once I type ipconfig, you could see the IPv4 address of my laptop is 192.168.1.3. So this is an internal IP address. So how I can know this is internal IP address? So this internal IP address start with a three ranges. So you could say the address either start with 10.0, or it can start dot 172 dot something 16, or it can start with 192.168. So it can either start with 10 or 170.16 or 192.168. So here for me my address is starting with 192.160. So it is my internal IP. So my router has assigned it to my laptop whenever I connect it to a Wi-Fi. Okay, and what is external IP? So external IP is assigned to me whenever I am using a internet. So that we already seen. So this is external IP. So this is not in our private range. So there are only three private range. You could see class A, class B, and class C. And a public range can be anything. So we'll see if this IP is in our public range. So we'll seeing that IP somewhere here. Yeah, so 110.226. Okay, so you could see this class A range starting from 11 to 126. So this falls in the class A of a public IP. And your public IP will be unique globally, where your private IP will be unique in your LAN or your Wi-Fi network or your VPC network. So that is the difference between private IP and public IP. Now to get complete understanding of VPC, subnet, private IP and external IP, I'll go to Cloud Console and I'll try to create a simple VPC. So here in your laptop case or your mobile device, when you connect it to Wi-Fi, it create one network. So all cloud services are using internet, or without internet you cannot use any of the cloud service. So because of that, whenever you are creating any compute service or any virtual machine, you should have a network or a virtual private network in your cloud. Without that you cannot create a virtual machine. So whenever you create your project in a Google Cloud, there will be one default network will get created, or default VPC will get created. So I'll just, this is my Google Cloud project, which is a brand new project, I'll say. And if I go to VPC network, you will see one a default network. Here you could see default. So whenever there is a new project created, there will be default network created by default. You don't need to create manually. So in default network you will see 36 subnet. So now what is a difference between VPC and subnet? So just let me go to my board here, and I'll just draw one diagram here. So let me choose green color. Okay, so just assume this is your VPC. Okay, and inside your VPC you have to create a virtual machine. So you cannot create a virtual machine without a subnet, because subnet will have IP addresses, and you cannot create a virtual machine without IP addresses. So your VPC is just a structure. Inside that you will create IP ranges using the subnet. So I'll go here and I'll create a simple VPC. So here you can click on create VPC network, and I will just give name as a test VPC. So it should be only lowercase numbers and hyphen. So if I put a uppercase, so test VPC, it will give me an error. Okay, so numbers lowercase, so this will not be allowed, so I have to keep it up lowercase, test VPC. So description is optional, you cannot skip, you can skip that. So this is something new, ULA internal IPv6 range, so we don't need that, so we'll keep it by default as a disabled. Now here are the important, so subnet creation mode, custom and automatic. So whenever we choose a custom, we have given option to create our own subnet, own region and a own private IPv4 or IPv6 IP range. If I choose automatic, it will create subnet in all region. So if I click automatic, you could see it created subnet in all region with a one private IP range. So I don't need this auto mode. I just want to utilize one single region for my project. So I will use a custom and I will create one subnet. So here I click on new subnet. I'll give name as a my subnet, and I have to choose a region for each subnet. So your each subnet will have one specific region, and you can create resources in that subnet in only that particular region. So here I can choose any region. So I will choose US Central one because this is a cheaper one compared to the cost of other region. So I will choose US Central one. Okay. Now I have to give IPv4 range. So as I said, we have to give a private IP address range. So what are the private address? So either I can give from this range or this class B range or a class C range. So I will show you what happens if I give any other range. So suppose I am giving the range which is starting from 35, which is not in private IP range, dot 16 dot 19. See what will happen. So invalid IPv4 range, use CIDR notation. Now we'll see what is a CIDR notation. So if I am using this is a single IP address and which is invalid. So first we'll use a valid IP address from the private IP range. So I will use this 10.0.0.0 IP address range. So I will use 10.0.0.0. Okay, but what it will still giving error because it is asking to use a CIDR notation. What is CIDR notation? So this is become a single IP, but we have to give a range of IP. So just take an example. So I want IP address, or I want to create 100 machine in my subnet. So I need 100 IP addresses. Okay, so to get IP addresses, I want to create a range from suppose 10.0.0.0 to 10.0.0.100. Okay, I miss, you can ignore this. So this will be my range of 100 IP. So how I can create this range? So for that we have to use a CIDR notation. So how we can use this CIDR notation, I'll show you. So here you can put /28. Now what this 28 means, so let me go back to my slide again and I will show you. So what this 28 means, so you have to always remember after the slash, if number is 28, you have to minus that 28 for 32. So it will be 32 minus 28, answer will be 4, and you have to compare it like 2 raised to power 4 is equal to 16, means this range will have only 16 IP addresses. Okay, and if I am using 24, so how it will calculate? So 32 minus 24, so it will become 8, and 2 raised to power 8, so it will become 256 IP addresses. So you can give according to your requirement. So currently I am giving only 4 because I just using it for demo, so 4 IP addresses are sufficient for me. And always remember, out of these 4 you can only use only 2, because first 2 are reserved IP addresses. So if I go to documentation, you could see reserved IP address in IP4 subnet. So one is reserved for network first address in primary IP range. So this will be 10.1.2.0, or if we are giving range 10.0.0.0, the first IP address will be reserved and the second also will get reserved for a default gateway. I will show you once the subnet is created. Okay, so first I will just create a subnet. Okay, so I am creating subnet in US Central 1, so I can create my virtual machine only in US Central 1. So I will show you what happen if I'll try to create in Europe or Asia region if I don't have a subnet. So I have given this a CIDR range. Hope you are clear with the CIDR range. So that is the range of IP addresses. That's it. And I will just click on done. Now one thing about a firewall again. So just I'll come back to that point later. So first let me create this subnet and create my VPC. I don't want to confuse you right now with the firewall. Now this VPC will be created with only single subnet. Okay, now this VPC is created. Now let me go back and let me try to create one virtual machine. So I'll go to my project. I'll go to compute engine page. I'll click on create instance. And I'll just give the name as a demo. Region I'll choose US Central 1, and now I'll go down. I'll keep everything as it is and I'll directly go to the networking section now. So here you could see by default it will take a default network and it will take this IP range of your US Central 1 region. Now I don't want to use default. I already created my VPC. I want to use the VPC I have created. So here I will use test VPC and immediately it will take the subnet we created with a range 10.0.0.0/28. Now whatever VM will created will have the IP address in this range starting from 0. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, anything. Okay, in this range only. Now suppose if I want to choose another region instead of central one, if I choose east one, it will give me an error because I don't have any subnet available in this VPC with US east one. So let me show you the error we'll get. Okay, so you must select a subnet and it what will say no subnetwork in this region. So first we have to create subnetwork in that region, then only you can create virtual machine in that VPC and in that region. So I have already created for US Central 1, so I'll use the US Central 1. Now again IP addresses. So primary IP address it will assign automatically from your subnet range, and external IP address it will assign ephemeral way, that is dynamic way, whatever available globally, and it should be unique. So you have two options, either you can keep it external IP available or you can keep it as a none. When you don't want your VM to contact or interact with internet, then you can use none. For now I'll keep it as a ephemeral and I'll create my virtual machine. And I will show you what is the difference between internal and external IP here. Okay, and our virtual machine is created here. You could see, as I said, we cannot use first two IP, so I couldn't use a first two IP, that is a 0.0 and 0.1. So it means out of these 16 IP addresses, two we cannot use, so we can only create a 14 virtual machine in the subnet. And if we try to create more virtual machine, it will just say IP exhausted, and we have to increase the CIDR range to create a more virtual machine. So we can simply go to our VPC, and we can increase the subnet range to increase the IP addresses. So from here I'll go to subnet. Yeah, in test VPC I'll go to my subnet and I'll click on edit. So here instead of 28, if I do a 24, so when it was a 28 it was having 16 IP. Now if I do 24, it will have 256 IP addresses. So I can change it, but I cannot decrease it. So suppose if I try to decrease it, so earlier it was 28, let me do a 29. So I cannot do that, but if I do a 24 or a 26, it is allowed. Okay, so I'll just do it as a 24 and I'll leave as it is. So this way we can increase the CIDR range and increase the IP addresses in our subnet. Now what we have done till now, so we have created one VPC, we have created one subnet, and we have created one virtual machine. So let me go here. So let me remove this first. Okay, now what we have done till now, so we created this VPC, so this is our VPC, and we created one subnet. So suppose this is our subnet which we created in a US central one, so I'll just write US, and we have given one IP range. So we have given IP range, so suppose we have given 10 dot something, so we have given one IP range, and we have created one virtual machine inside this a subnet. So that all things we have done till now. Now I'll go back, okay, and I'll try to log in into this virtual machine. So you have SSH option here, so I'll try to log in into this virtual machine and we'll see what will happen. And we got an error, so you could see connection failed, we are unable to connect to the VM on port at 2022. So what is that error? So this error just because we don't have any firewall. Now we're coming back to the point why we need a firewall. So I'll go back to my slide here and see VPC firewall. So the VPC firewall rules apply to a given project and network. If you apply firewall rules, okay, that is not required, so I'll just show you this. So firewall rules let you allow or delay connection to or from your virtual machine based on the configuration that you specify. So whenever we create any virtual private cloud or VPC, there will be two firewall rules available by default. Now if I go here, the firewall rules you could see 0, but there will be two firewall rules. One which will always deny incoming traffic. So incoming traffic is called as a ingress. So all traffic which is coming to your network, which is called as a ingress, and the traffic which is going out of your network is called as a egress. Okay, so we have to create a firewall rule for both side of traffic, ingress and egress. So always remember, whenever we create a VPC, there will be two firewall rule by default. We don't need to create that. By default these two are available, which will block your incoming traffic and which will allow your outgoing traffic. So we'll show you. So suppose if I go to create VPC network, so I already have, still I don't want to go into that. I'll show you while creating. Now here you could see these two here, no checkbox available. So first is deny all ingress 000/0. It means all IPv4 addresses from the internet. So this range shows that all addresses. Always remember, this is very dangerous CIDR range. If you are creating firewall, it means you are allowing or denying traffic from complete internet. So first firewall rule, what it is doing? So it is denying all ingress traffic from any IP range. And second, it is allowing IP address, or it is allowing traffic to all the IP address range. So these two firewall rules are always there by default, and you don't need to create it explicitly. Now coming back to this result, because of this what's happened, I am sending traffic from my laptop to this VM's port 22 because it is used for SSH. So if you go and search on Google SSH port, it will show you 22. So it is common for all. Whenever you go, you are using Linux, this port 22 is used to SSH or login into the virtual machine. Now to remove this error, so if I do retry, I still get that error. So what I will do to remove this error, I will create one firewall which will say, okay, allow traffic on this VM on port 22. So what I will do, I will go and I will create firewall. I will go to my test VPC, and here you will see firewall option, and I will create add a firewall rule. I will give the name allow SSH. Okay, so you can give any name, again lowercase only, and only hyphens are allowed. Now a priority, so you could see priority can be 0 to 65,535. 0 will be highest priority and 65,535 is the lowest priority. So highest the number, lowest the priority. So earlier deny all rule is having lowest priority, so I can keep anything below this number. So I am keeping 1000. I am allowing ingress traffic, so logging on that port, it means we are sending ingress traffic to that virtual machine, and we want to allow. So what we want to allow? Traffic on port 22 target. So what will be target? On which virtual machine or on which IP address we want to allow. So either I can specify all instance in my VPC, or I can specify network tags. So simply I can add any tags to my virtual machine, and I can use a tags for that firewall. So tags are used when you want to create firewall for multiple machines or a specific requirement. So I will for now keep all instances in the network, and from which IP address I want to allow the traffic. So I can keep from this 00 range, it means from anyone from the internet can log in into the VM, but I won't use that. What is the best way? I will only allow traffic from my IP address. So what is my IP address? This is my IP address. So I will only allow traffic from my IP address. Okay. And on which port I want to allow traffic on? Only 22 port, because this is the port used for login. Allowing traffic on port 22, and I will. So let's see what error again we got. Okay, so we again got. Now let me create it and try again. So once I created, and if I try to log in again, it will allow me to log in, because we have now allow traffic on 22 firewall. So this firewall is nothing but like a security guard outside your home, which will check who is allowed to go inside your house, and port is like a door for your house. So there will be multiple doors. So port is like door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. So same way this firewall will check on which port traffic is allowed. So currently traffic is allowed only on port 22. So it will allow traffic coming only on port 22. So I will now retry, and it should allow us to log in. And see, I'm logged in inside my virtual machine now when I created a firewall. So in this way we can create firewall to allow traffic on a particular port. Now what I will do, I'll just update a packages on this Debian virtual machine. I'll just type sudo apt-get update, so it will just upgrade the packages. And you could see while upgrading packages, it is connecting to internet, it is trying to connect to this site, and it is upgrading the packages or downloading the packages from this. It means it is connecting to internet and it can access the internet. Now suppose I create my virtual machine without any external IP, what will happen? So I'll just go to my virtual machine and I'll try to edit that. I'll edit. So where is a network? Yeah, here. So it won't allow to change network, but I can definitely keep it none and I'll try to save this. Okay, so let me scroll down and save, and we'll see what issues will face once we have only a internal IP and not a external IP. Okay, I'll just go back. We didn't change anything in firewall, we just removed the external IP. Okay, and now I'll try to execute a same command here. So first thing, I am not able to type anything. So we'll see if it is saved now. Okay, so you could see there is only internal IP and there is no external IP, and even I'm not able to type or do anything where I was logged in. And if I'll try to log in again, so it is saying this instance does not have an external IP. So here are two issues I will face if I won't have external IP. First issue, I cannot log in without external IP because I'm logging from my laptop, that is from internet, and your internet won't know about the internal IP address because your internal IP address only useful within your VPC network. It means if your VM won't have external IP address, I cannot log in from my virtual machine. Second thing, you cannot use internet. Even if you sorted out a way to log in into the VM, you cannot use internet without a external IP. So here you could see I'm not able to do anything. It's just throw me out once I removed external IP. Okay, so for these two problems we have two solutions. First, for login without external IP, we have IAP, that is identity aware proxy, and to access internet without external IP we have a NAT gateway. So we'll see about both of these concepts. We'll go here and I'll first go to identity aware proxy. So identity aware proxy used to log in into a GC instance without public or external IP. But how we can use identity aware proxy? So to enable IAP, we need to enable first cloud identity aware proxy API. Second, we should have this IAP tunnel resource accessor role. And third, we should create firewall to allow traffic from this range. So this is Google's IAP range. So we'll do all these things one by one and we'll see if I can see a button, SSH button here. So first step, enable IAP API. So from here I'll go to API and services. So let me scroll down, more products, API and services, and I'll go to library and I'll just copy paste this identity aware proxy. I'm not sure if it will copy from PDF. I'll try it. Yeah, it copied. And I'll just search it. Okay, so I'll enable it. I'll just enable this API. That is the first step. So we have three steps. First, enable API. Okay, API is enabled. Now we'll go on the second step to have a role. So suppose if you have editor role, you should give or assign this tunnel accessor role explicitly. But if you have owner role on your project, you don't need to assign this role. Still, I will check if this role is present in your owner role. So if I go and check what is my role in project, I'll go to I am admin. So this is a email ID I am using, techcapture.com, which is having editor role. So I will assign a role. So currently I cannot assign a role to myself. Okay, so I have to use my another account. So I'll just use my another account. I'll go here and I will use my another account. I'll log into console.cloud google.com. Okay, and I'll go to prod project, go to IAM, and from here I will assign a tunnel accessor role. So this is my email ID. Now I will assign one more role from our step. I'll just do add another role and I will type IAP, and here you could see the different roles. IAP secured tunnel user. So I will assign this role and I will save. Now what will be the difference here? What will happen once I assign this role? Now I'll go back to, or I'll just go back from here and I will go back to a VM instance page. Now you could see I have this SSH option enabled. Earlier this option was not enabled and it was showing you don't have external IP. Even though there is no external IP now, I have this SSH button. Now let's see if I can log in using this SSH. Even though we are still missing, or we are yet to perform third step, but I think we don't need a third step because I created one firewall rule to allow all the traffic. So let me go to the firewall and I'll quickly perform third step also. So I'll go to VPC and I'll open this VPC and we'll go to firewall and create a firewall for mentioned range. So I'll go to firewall, I'll add firewall rule and I'll go to document and I'll create firewall rule to allow this IP range on port 22. So I'll just give the name allow IAP Okay, and ingress allow target tags. So here I will keep all instance in the network, and I will, so now we already created one firewall rule with all instance network. Now I will show how to use a network tag. So I will just use specified network tag, and target tags I will give IAP. So it means all the instances who is having this target tag will use this firewall rule. Now I'll scroll down and I will again mention port 22. Okay, now we'll see how these network tags will work. Now I want to show one more thing in firewall. So don't worry if this video is getting longer. I just want to cover all the basics related to GCP networking. So here if I click on allow IAP firewall rule, and here I will show avail applicable to instance. So this firewall rule is not applicable to any of the instance in our network. Why? Because we applied rule on this IAP network tag, and this network tag is not present to any of the instance. So I will go to this demo VM. I will add a network tag. So we can add network tag using this edit option here. I'll quickly go here, edit. I'll scroll down. We'll see where we can add a tags. Here you can add tags. I'll add IAP, for which we created a firewall rule, and I will save. So now our firewall rule should be applicable to this instance. So I'll refresh this page, and currently you could see nothing in applicable to instance. Once I refresh, you will see a demo instance name here. Let me scroll down, and you could see this firewall rule is applicable to this demo instance. It means using this firewall rules we can log in into the demo instance on port 22 using the IAP. Now let me go here and let me try to log in, and we'll see if I can log in. So I'll go back. Let me go to the VM instance page, and I'll click on SSH, and we'll see it will allow me to log in using a IAP. So I am logging in without using a external IP address now. You can see one prompt for IAP here. And I'm logged in inside my virtual machine now. Now let me update the packages again, which we did last time. Sudo apt get update, and I'm sure it will not work. So now what will happen? It is trying to connect to the internet on this site, but there is no external IP, so internet connection will not work, and this will get timeout. So it will not able to download any of the packages. Okay, so it will just stuck here itself. Now we have to work on our SQL concept. So we have one more concept. So first thing, don't be confused. To log in without external IP, you have to use IAP. To access internet without external IP, you have to use CloudNet. So I'll go to CloudNet. So CloudNet is nothing but network address translation, where you can access a internet without external IP using a CloudNet. Now I'll create a CloudNet. So creating CloudNet is very simple. So you have to just type a CloudNet here, okay, and click on this CloudNet, and you have to just follow the steps or a navigation. So click on get started, give the gateway name. So now if you do not have anything here, you have to click on get started or create NAT gateway, and I will just give the name as a NAT test, network, you have to select your VPC network. So we want a test VPC network. Region, our virtual machine is in US Central 1. So I will choose US Central 1. So why it is showing only US Central 1? Because we are our virtual machine or our subnet in this VPC is only in US Central 1. Cloud router. So we don't have, so just click on create new router and you can give the any name. So I'll just give a test and just click on create. And rest everything keep as it is. Now you see here everything is showing failing, and let me just, so could not, unable to connect, all are error. Okay, some index files fail to download. Now let me just do again. Okay, it's still failing, and now I'll just try to create. Now immediately once it is created, within a second it will start downloading. You could see still it is not connecting, but once NAT gateway is created, it will immediately start downloading the packages. So it's still not downloading. Let me see the status. So NAT is running. It will take a couple of seconds to navigate, and we'll see when it will start. Yeah, you could see it's connect. Okay, it's still error. So let me wait for 2 more seconds. So let me run command again. Now you could see it's working and it's reading packages. It's connecting to this and it's downloading. The packages are downloaded. Let me do again. Okay, it's able to connect. In this way, we can use a cloud NAT to access internet without an external IP. Okay, hope you are clear on this concept. Now let me go back to this and what we have created. So to log in to this virtual machine without external IP, we used IAP. To access internet without external IP, we used NAT. So NAT is nothing but your router, Wi-Fi router. Even you will use your Wi-Fi router to connect to internet. Okay. Now we'll see what else we have in a Google Cloud, a networking, which is a very basic. Now we'll see what is a VPC peering. Okay, so as we seen here, we have two IP addresses of our virtual machine. One is internal IP address, another is external IP address. Now if I create one more virtual machine here, inside the same VPC, so I'll just create one more virtual machine demo 2 in central 1, and I will select network as a test VPC. Instead of default, I need to choose my own test VPC, and I'll click on, okay, I don't want external IP, so I'll go back again, and here I'll use none, and I'll create. So the second virtual machine is created here. I'll log in into this virtual machine, and I'll try to deploy a simple web application inside this virtual machine, which will print the message, hello, this is my application. So let me log in first. Okay, I'm logged in, so let me execute this command, and it will print, this is my web application. Okay, and now let me just try to call. I will do localhost on port 80, and this will print, this is my web application. So the same message should print when I am doing this from the another virtual machine. So I'll log in into the first virtual machine. Instead of localhost, I will use IP address. So let's see if I use IP address here as well. I will use curl. It is printing the same message. Let me try doing it here. So I'll just do curl. Oh, sorry. I want to paste a IP address. So I'll copy IP address of machine second and I'll try to curl. So currently it is not giving any response because we have to allow traffic from a VM1 to VM2 on 80 port. So I'll again go back to my VPC and here now for a time being what I will do, I will allow traffic from all the internet on port 80. So I'll go to firewall rule. I'm just creating different firewall rules so you will get full understanding how we can create firewall rules in a different way. So I'll just create traffic allow all. Priority I'll keep 100. Ingress allow. Again I will say all instances in network and source. Now I'll give range of complete internet /0. Okay. And even port now I want 80 because HTTP run on 80. If we are giving HTTPS we have to create 443 and I'll create and we'll see now immediately it will start working. So currently it is not giving response. Once firewall rule is created it will give a response. So we'll wait for a moment. Let me try again with port and you could see it's giving a response now. That means now let me try the same if I am doing it from my browser. Okay, so I'll just use this on my browser and it will not give me any response because this internal IP of my virtual machine is only applicable inside my test VPC network. So if I create any virtual machine in another network, no one will able to identify this internal IP. Now what I will do, I'll go to VPC network and I'll create one VPC. So simply I'll create one VPC here. So I'll create test2 VPC. Okay. And now I'll create subnet in US East 4 region. I will select US East 4, not central now. And IP address range I will give 10.10.10.0/28 this time, which is a valid private IP range. And here also I will just create it first. Egress traffic is allowed and I'll create one virtual machine in this network. Now I'll go to this demo 2 and I'll click on create similar. So it will create with a similar configuration. I'll just change the network. So I want test2 now, test2 and region I want US East 4. Okay. test 2. Yeah, there should be a subnet in US East 4. Let me check if we created subnet. Yeah, we created subnet. Let me reload it again. Sometimes we open page before it's being created. Okay, let me go and choose US East 4 again, and let me select VPC test 1. Okay, test 2, sorry. And I'll, okay, again I don't want external IP, and I'll create. And once it is created, I will log in. So just remember here, VM demo and demo 2 are in the same VPC, so they can interact with each other using the internal IP. Now demo 3 will be in another network, so any virtual machine in this demo 3, any virtual machine in this test 2 VPC cannot interact with any of these virtual machine using the internal IP. So let me show you now. Even if we have a firewall to allow all traffic, and if I try to call this URL, so this was giving response here, right? So this should give response in another VM also, but that is in another network. So we'll see what happened here. Okay, it failed because we have to create again cloud NAT and cloud IP for this VPC also. So instead of that, I'll simply assign external IP of this VM. So that will save our effort, because that we already seen how to create NAT and how to enable IAP. So I'll simply go and I'll enable the external IP. So from here, I'll simply assign external IP to this virtual machine. And one more thing I have to do, I have to create firewall for port 22, which we created in very first step. So for this VPC also we have to create, so that we can log in into the VM. So allow SSH test2 all instance. So again I'll create from complete internet, anyone can log in. For this demo I'll create TCP and 22, so that we can log in now. And let me retry now. So it should allow us to log in now. Yeah, we are inside VM now. Now I'll try to call the application for this demo 2. So it will not allow us to access this using the internal IP. So I'll just try to access. So it will not allow, because it will check it is starting from 10. So this will be internal IP, and this will only check within the VPC, but in this VPC there is no IP. So it will only check internal IP in that network. Similar way here it happens, but it is in the same network, so it will immediately give us a response. Now how we keep our virtual machine from another network to interact with the internal IP, so that is called a VPC peering. So I'll go here and we'll see. So just take an example here. Now we created the same setup Either it can be in different project or in same project. So now in our project we have two VPC, one is network A, one is network B. So we have created test and test 1. We have two subnet, we created US Central 1 and US East 4, and we created 3 VMs now, 2 in test network and 1 in test 1 network. Now what we need to do a VPC peering, or why we need a VPC peering? So whenever there is like VMs cannot interact with internal IP, they will use internet to interact. So traffic will flow through the internet and it will decrease your speed and increase your latency. Also there is always cost of egress traffic, so anything going out of your VPC will cost you in GCP. So if you are using external IP, your traffic will flow through internet, your traffic will go outside your VPC and you will cost more. So that's why you have to use a VPC peering. Now how you will do a VPC peering? Now simply I'll go and I will do a VPC network peering. Now always remember, you have to do peering from both the end. Means suppose if you have network A and network B, so you have to do peering from network A to B, as well as you have to do a peering from network B to network A. So we'll do a same here. So first we'll create connection, continue, name, peer. Now I'll just give the name test2, test1. So my network is test, okay, sorry, test2, test2, and VPC network test2. So I will pair these two. I will create. Now again I will show it's still not, it's showing failed to connect, connection timeout, because it cannot interact using the internet IP because these two are a different VPC. Okay, so let me refresh this, because one end peering is created, we have to create peering from another end as well. Okay, so you could see this is showing inactive because we created only from test to test2 VPC. Now we have to create a reverse also from test2 to test. So I'll create one more. Now here I'll create test2 to test. Now here I will select test2 and here I will select test, the reverse one I am doing. And once I do create, the inactive or showing will becomes green and it will be active. So this will becomes active now once the another end peering. Yeah, so you could see this becomes active. Now peering connection has happened. Now both this VPC could communicate using the internal IP. Now if I do the same curl, and this is giving me the result. So before peering it was not giving the result. So this will act as a single network. So even though the two different network, it will act as a single network when we do a peering. So that's why the peering is important. So that's it for a VPC peering. So that's it we have for our GCP networking. Let me know if you have any more question on a GCP networking. I'll try to answer you and I'll try to figure the answers for your question. So thank you for watching this video.